Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you guys. Thank you so much for all the likes and being present here. I see so many familiar faces. Welcome once again. We have XDC Network, and Mr. Billy Sabel is here with us from XDC Network. Welcome, Mr. Billy.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, Mr. Billy, before we begin, could you give a brief explanation about yourself and also about XDC Network?
Sure. Yeah. So I am the executive director of the XDC Foundation. I have essentially been in, the crypto space since early 2018 and got heavily involved with the XDC network as part of their focus being trade finance and really a focus on enterprises and SMEs. And so, that really had led into, me really building and developing the community with a number of other community members, and ultimately kind of into the situation or position I'm in now with the XDC Foundation.
I see. Thank you so much for the explanation. Guys, thank you also for sharing the link to the xdc.org website, main website. You can find every single social of XDC on there. But right now we are going to jump right into the questions if Mr. Billy is ready as well.
Yep.
All right. So our first question is, what are some of the primary use cases and capabilities of the XDC network?
Well, the XDC network, we really consider as a premier blockchain and trade finance. It's we had the first ever trade finance single token NFT back in September of 2021. We've been working with Trade Tech, who's part of that initiative to launch that NFT, and really what it was a trade that a securitization essentially off chain that was now done on chain as tokenization. And from that, we've been working with them to help support them to create the first asset-backed security token on the network, which is called Trada. And again, this is kind of going from securitization of assets like accounts, like invoices that businesses are trying to finance to into a tokenization on chain. And so that's one of the major use cases which we put together with trade finance. We also have ISO 20022 financial messaging, which we do with a layer 2 called Impel. We have others that are launching Securrency, which is a wisdom tree backed entity, has a product called Digital Asset Composer and compliance technology that we also are putting in place or have had with Blockchain Intelligence Group, and really looking at trying to bring all of these different types of services together on a chain, where you have, transaction integrity, security, scalability, and all of these things. We're also integrated with Fireblocks as part of that, and we have a bridge to R3 Corda as a permissioned or private network connected to the XDC public network.
I see. And by Fireblock, do you mean like firewall protection?
No, Fireblocks being Fireblocks Singapore entity that really works directly with institutions and to offer not custody solutions, but to integrate all sorts of different products and services, so you can really start to kind of operate cross-chain through a lot of their services.
I see. Thank you so much for the explanation. Guys,
sure.
Thank you for posting and liking the stream always, constantly. We have here, you guys are sharing it right now, we have here XDC Foundation's Twitter page. The link is being shared in the chat right now. Go ahead and check it out. Check out what the project is all about. And thank you for that. And keep on following. Thank you so much. So let's switch to our next question. Can you talk about some of the projects built on XDC and what industries they are in?
Sure. Yeah, so I mentioned a couple already with Trade Tech launching Atrada and Impel with ISO messaging. Securrency also with their platform for no-code dApp solutions. We have decentralized storage in StoreX is another project that launched. Actually, the first project that launched on our chain. We have an Oracle similar to Chainlink called Plugin. We have a few different stable coins which have launched. The Euros token. So we have a Euro stable coin as well as US Plus, which is a US denominated stable coin. We also have a number of different NFT marketplaces. We have tokenized gold with Kinesis money and also Comtep Gold, and so there's a wide range of projects that have been launching on our chain, and as a EVM compatible smart contracts platform, which is what we are, it is a focus of ours, outside of what we do with trade finance, to really help projects of all sorts just kind of come together into the ecosystem, ones that really can support a lot of the types of developments that are already currently happening on the network.
I see. Thank you so much for the explanation. And just a related question right now. You've talked about many accomplishments of it, like the euro and the US dollar compatible currencies and the NFTs. But one question asks about what are some of the major accomplishments of the XDC network has had in the last 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, so we have a number of unique affiliations, and a lot of these are part of what we've been doing in global trade. Some of those are the International Trade and Farfading Association, which is essentially a worldwide trade association of companies and financial institutions that are engaged in global trade. The DNI initiative is also, kind of, it's an initiative really ultimately that is really trying to put the needed blockchain structure and interoperability for financial institutions to be able to communicate across various platforms and ecosystems. And with that, these are all kind of tied into a lot of the work that we've done around the initial NFT and kind of the building of an ecosystem that really allows a lot of different organizations to come on board and work together. And some of those are banks and others that might support digitization or other services that are kind of needed within that sphere. And all of that really kind of leads us to the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative, or the TFD, which is a consortium of the world's leading banks and non-bank financial institutions. And it was actually established by the ITFA with the purpose of liquefying trade finance. And so, we're the only blockchain network that is actually part of the Trade Finance Distribution. So that's the only one. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've had a big focus on that, as well as other, as I said, projects that are launching as EVMs, but compatible projects. But I think that we've really kind of taken that focus of what we've been doing in that area and looked at, as a community, building out ways in which we can create more growth in these other areas. But kind of along with that trade focus that we've had, we've taken part in the ITFA conferences in Porto in September. We were named a FinTech Finance Award finalist this year, and with all of that on that side, we're also a lot of the things that we've kind of accomplished around what we've been doing is really focusing on how to build out our XIP, which is a proposal process for the community. And, we've been starting to launch or host, hackathons for the community, and really looking at tremendous growth around our smart contracts as well, over 500% in 2022. So there's like a lot of things that have happened across the board, from trade to, growth of a lot of these other projects that are launching.
I see. Thank you so much for the explanation, and it really seems interesting that you are also like having hackathons and like community events as well. It's real great and exciting. And
Yeah,
500%. That's a big number into 2022.
Yeah, we've. I think 2022. While it was a challenging year across the board, I think in the industry.
Exactly.
One of the things that really never stopped was our focus on how do we continue to help build the network. And, as a foundation, we're just one component of that. And, we're really looking at how we can bring community together and, really build out what we're doing as a community, as opposed to, having one kind of centralized driving force. Our focus is decentralization, and how to get there, and I think we're seeing that with these smart contracts, because these are things that just happen. It's not like we even know that they're going on until all of a sudden we start to see the activity going on network, or people reach out to us. Sometimes people won't say anything to us; they just show up on the network and they're like, "Here, we've just launched this project, or we're launching, next month," and we're just here to support them in any way to be able to be successful.
I see. Thank you so much for the explanation. Guys, if you are interested, the link is being shared in the chat right now, xdc.org. It's that simple. Go ahead, give it a visit. You can find every single social of XDC right here under the community tab and online communities. If you go there, you will be able to scroll down and find their LinkedIn, Medium, Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, and every single other thing that you can imagine. There's also a community GitHub book page, so you can just get directed there and see everything for yourselves. Definitely check it out if you are interested. Thank you so much. And let's switch to our next question, if Mr. Billy is also ready.
Yeah, fire away.
All right. So, what are the XDC's conclusions of 2022? What have you accomplished in the thing? I mean, like by the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, maybe some things that we've already mentioned, but some things that, we haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I think I already talked about, we've actually integrated with Fireblocks, but we've also integrated with a number of others. Global ID, which is really a network. It's the ability for people to actually have an ID, on a platform. We're accessible to anybody that actually uses Global ID. They can, any layer 2 can integrate into Global ID. So you have, the ability to easily access dApps without continually having to, verify,
yeah, exactly.
who you are. We're also integrated with Overledger this year as part of it.
Overledger.
With Quant Overledger. So Fireblocks, Global ID, and Quant Overledger are just a few of the different things that we've integrated with this year. We are also, let's see, so with our global trade finance initiatives, one of our advisors, Andre Casterman, provided, a lot of thought leadership, which he's done in driving forward a lot of the efforts with the TFP and the ITFA that I've talked about before. He's notably at the front of a lot of the initiatives that are happening around trade finance. And I think, you see that in publications where he's been featured in conferences, which he's actually, really led this year. We have actually taken part in a number of different events this year, which, previous years, as we were kind of growing, we were, not involved so much, but we've been able to take part in a lot more industry-wide events, from like Global Trade Review in New York, as an example, as part of, we had Impel representing us there, which is part of the whole banking sector that we're really looking to connect with through our trade finance initiatives. We've had, a number of different, like I mentioned, NFT marketplaces that have launched. XDC SEA is one of them, as well as XDC NFT. There's, I think, one of the things that kind of goes a bit under the radar, maybe when we're looking at kind of growth around the network. And these are a lot of just kind of like hit points of things that, we've done on top of the launching of, seeing the growth and the launch of all of these different EVM projects and what we've been able to do with global trade, is that, we have, really growing social presence across, I think, the crypto sphere. And, we've seen that quite a bit. So we've seen a lot of, I think that goes hand in hand with a lot of the smart contract growth that we've seen. So, we've also been, working on some other initiatives, and I think we'll be finishing some things up, going live with, coming up in Q1, regarding security of the network. And so there's been a lot of work on the protocol side to bring that about. Again, the XIP process that we've created, and really kind of the launching of XDC .community, which has really kind of been leading or the driving force around the hackathons that we're doing. And we've also launched, this was not, it's a network initiative. We're just participants in it, but part of what you see with the growth of the network is xdc.dev, which is .dev. So it's xdc.dev. It's a forum and portal for the community to collaborate through. And what we've been seeing is, kind of a proposal process coming forth where projects can come and, interact and propose initiatives that they want to do on the network. And so, we've been able to really start to build out developer feedback and just interaction between community members, beyond what you see on traditional socials.
I see.
So it's been a really good tool for us to have the community come together, and it's really starting to grow and take off.
Yeah, thank you so much for that explanation. And I was just thinking to myself about how the global ID was an amazing feature of this project. But now that I see the dev website, and I'm just going to pull it up on the screen as well, it's so great for actually feedback and also community, the community, it has even comment sections and etc. where users can interact and talk to each other, and also representatives. So guys, if you are interested and if you have like any kind of compatible project that you want to have XDC with, so definitely check out xdc.dev dev. It's on the screen right now. Go ahead, check it out. And thank you so much for all the like and all the love, guys. Thank you for everything that you are saying. I'm seeing them, but it's sometimes hard to respond. So apologies in advance. But yeah, let's continue with another question if Mr. Billy is ready as well. You've talked about Mr. Andre, I believe. I couldn't catch the name really, but I just want to
Yep.
ask a related question about the team itself. The team is, very important in crypto projects. So can you tell us a little bit about the team? How many team members do you have? Have you had previous experience with a blockchain project, and also other members' backgrounds on the projects as well?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, there's a fair amount of across the team. There's a fair amount of blockchain expertise. From the founders down. Atul Kakade, who is one of the founders of Zinfin, and the network itself actually came from Monetago, where they launched blockchain in India for risk management or mitigation, and that was a pretty significant development that was done there, and really kind of like the whole idea behind trade finance and enterprise friendly or ready blockchain network was really kind of born out of that. And so that's really where this had all started from. We have, it's hard to say specific, with team, because so much of what's happened, has grown dramatically. We have, maybe,
Of course.
in varying capacities, some full-time and some, maybe more project-based. You kind of would look at probably about, 10 to 12 or so contributors to the foundation, more directly. And then there's like a much larger group of people from the community who contribute on an ongoing basis in different ways, that, you probably have, dozens who are really active at different times doing, different initiatives. The protocol team is, largely, their experience in blockchain is fairly deep. And, we have a number of PhDs, who are also part of that particular team. And they're the ones really right now who are working on some of this, updates to the network with our what's called XD POS 2.0, which we can, probably get to in more depth. But the, when you talk about globally how many people are working on it, there's certainly dozens and dozens of people that are actually working on the network. And there's also, and that I should say, goes through from development to, maybe, teams that are working on building the ecosystem with different types of integrations, which is a lot of what we've done for the foundation, like a Fireblocks or a Global ID or, things like that. Over Ledger, those are things where, we've focused heavily on from the foundation. And so there's a lot of integrations that have happened. And so it's a pretty varied team. And I would say a lot of community members as well. So, myself, my experience is largely, business based with some technology background. But, prior to getting involved with the crypto industry, I was not crypto specific in what I was doing. We have other software engineers who have come in who were not specific to blockchain. But, as you know, from what's happened from really 2000, you could say 14, 15, 16 and beyond, you could probably pick any date, where people started to get into blockchain. I think like 2019, 2020 were years where we saw like a tremendous amount of demand and growth and need for blockchain developers and engineers. And, many of those people or most of those people came into the industry. It's all really new to them. But the skills that are there are really transferable to what we're doing, whether it's developing something or really kind of like building out a business and organization or any type of activity like that.
I see. Yes, it really did become mainstream. And I'm glad to hear that it is growing, the community. And just a related question with that, The community support is one of the most important aspects of a project's success. So how do you plan to attract more users and expand your XDC ecosystem community globally?
Yeah, I think a lot of that really, we've really built the community really kind of like one by one. I think that when I look back on the early days of the community, after 2018, I think sometimes I think that there was the core group of people that were there were, just kind of like dozens. And from that, we just went out and engaged with people on social platforms. We educated people on the developments that were being done at the time. And we really tried to clarify and use platforms that are already in existence, like a Telegram or a Discord or Twitter, or, whatever, you really can do across socials. We're really looking at just trying to educate people on what it is that we're doing. Similar to what we're doing here with an AMA. I mean, this is an opportunity to reach out to people and talk to them a little bit about what we're doing. And so a lot of our growth plans really are focused along that. We've got a new website that we're developing that is going to be much more extensive than the existing xdc.org website. You'll see documentation and other details that are being put together, on our site or on xdc.org. You'll see it on xdc.community. So, the xdc.dev is also a really big component, I think, of network growth for us.
Yeah.
That, we're attracting a lot of developers that are in the space. And, the more they learn about our network, the more they are really interested in building on it, because we're we're a proof of stake. We're a fork of Ethereum, but we're a proof of stake network. So all the things that Ethereum is really looking to accomplish with their Verge and the Purge and all the things that they're developing, we've already established high speed, 2,000 plus transactions per second, and very low cost. We're talking like a small percentage of a penny for transactions, and finality of transactions is within a couple of seconds. So we have a number of things which we've accomplished in the network. When developers start to see that, it's one of the reasons why they are drawn to the network initially, to see about developing on top of it. So it's a building block piece, where we're just trying to, be who we are. We've always been known as the Zen fam, and that's really how we try to operate. Is to we're just include everybody, all boats rise, and see what we can do together.
I see. Thank you so much for the explanation. And guys, you've heard it. If you want to be a part of the project as well, make sure to head on to xdc.org. It is being shared in the chat right now. If you have any questions, you can check out the frequently asked questions as well. I have checked it out. It has some amazing answers if you are wondering anything after this AMA as well. But if you have questions, don't hold back. Just shoot it in the comment section and I will add it to my questions. Thank you in advance. And let's continue with our next question, which is, how will the crypto community be benefited by the XDC ecosystem?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of the things that we've covered, our focus, in trade finance, it's an opportunity for people to really participate in trade finances. That's one of the things about, I think, blockchain, which is really tremendous, is that, it's really, the equalizer for, I think, a lot of things. Where normally banks or non-bank originators may be the ones that are really fully, vested or have the opportunity to invest in trade finance, which is, really an inflation-resistant asset, the most inflation-resistant asset. Of course, that's really pertinent to what's going on today, in the world with inflation, really being, out of control in many different places, and also just, really rising in others, and the focus of trying to control that, or to keep it down. And I think that here you have an asset which is inflation resistant, that blockchain is allowing just like kind of the everyday person to be able to take part in. And of course, there's things that need to happen as we continue to grow, in this particular area, and clarifications and different jurisdictions around, regulations and how people can participate. But the reality is that there's opportunities for people to really take part in things like that. And I think also, as far as, a lot of the success of any network depends, is really dependent upon the network itself. That participants that we have here, that want to join, can come together as kind of like this whole network of networks, where we have all of these different projects that come on that are, really the opportunity to work together. And I think actually, one of the things I actually hadn't mentioned, Metablocks is a metaverse application, layer 2 on our network. And I think, you had done an AMA.
Exactly, we did an AMA.
With them. Yeah, and a tremendous product. I mean, there's a lot of things in which opportunities can be created across trade with what they're doing in commerce. And there's a lot of opportunity to interact with other projects on the network to really kind of, move forward together for a lot of these layer 2s. And I think that there's great opportunity, for projects to come on and see what's here, and then look at how they can take part in the ecosystem and work with others. And I think that, it's kind of like the sum total of all those parts really start to come together. And, as we move forward, we're starting to see, how, you do move to kind of a tipping point around, the network itself, and how these projects are coming together. And so it's actually been really exciting to see this happen from the very beginning, and watch it develop and see how projects interact. And so I think that that's a big component. It's easy to say, oh, it's fast, it's cheap, it's scalable. That's great. But what else is there really, and how are you going about doing, the growth of that? So I think that's important in terms of like why the XDC network.
Yes, I see. Yeah, that was my question right now, actually. But okay, we've already answered that. It was, why should projects choose XDC? But it's pretty clear that you need to choose it. It's amazingly beneficial for projects. It makes so many things easier. So thank you for that, and for the crypto community's name as well. The chat
Sure.
is also writing all kinds of compliments every once in a while. But yeah, thank you everybody for your kind words, and also thank you for checking out XDC Foundation on Twitter. The link is being shared in the chat right now. Definitely give it a click and give it a follow. If you are interested, check out xdc.dev or xdc.org as well. You can find every single social on xdc.org. Check it out. Hope you enjoy it. And let's switch to another question here. It says, what is the roadmap of XDC in the year 2023 and also beyond that? So like far into the future, maybe. What are your some of the ultimate goals of XDC?
Sure. Well, I mean, I would say, as we've, it's a funny thing, roadmaps. I think when we were kind of in our infancy and looking at what types of things we were looking to develop, we look at very specific things that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that comes down to even just when you launch your network. And so, and we actually our mainnet went live in 2019. Since that time, we've been building to really the general focus has always been about how do we grow the ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
and what are the things that we need to do around that. And now we're kind of at a point where, and I should say it was easier to pinpoint then, let's do X, Y, and Z. As we operate as the foundation, as an example. The focus and the goal that we have is to really support any projects that want to come on the network with whatever tools are necessary. And sometimes there might be, so we've developed a number of SDKs to help make development far easier for a lot of these projects. And now, what we actually look to do is when projects come on, we look at how they can work with each other. So it might be something like, I mentioned US Plus as a stable coin, that's by Fluent. Fluent is the project and the layer 2 that's been developing this. And so we'll look at how the things that Fluent is doing can work with other integrations that we've brought into the network, and also other layer 2s that have developed on it. So whether it's something within trade finance, or whether it's connecting them with, say, a service like Fireblocks or Global ID, these are things in which we're constantly looking at doing. So I would say, as far as roadmaps go, the only thing really that we largely look at overall is how do we actually decentralize the network itself, and how are we involved in that? And decentralization comes from a lot of people within the community. It's not a XDC Foundation driver specifically. We're participants in this like everybody else, especially as you become more decentralized. So I'd say, if there was any kind of roadmap, the roadmap would be about decentralization. And then, with that, there's all sorts of developments that come out around that, where there's voting mechanisms and there's discussions and understanding about governance that come up. And so, these are all things that we see happening as we move forward. But I think also it's kind of, in a way, almost impossible to sit here and say, well, here's what we're going to do specifically as a roadmap, because it's now the network. It's not about it's not about us. It's about the network. And so we always look at it, we're in service to the network. So what is it that we can do just to make it better for everyone? But I think there are definitely exciting things that you'll see that are happening or coming up, as part of, for example, the Securrency over, as I mentioned, and what they're doing with trade finance. They also have other initiatives that they're kind of offshoots of, where we're creating, DeFi applications are being created, I should say, on the network. There's opportunities to have staking come onto the network with that. And, there's a lot of different types of opportunities where, we'll start to see things like TVL, growing on the network and as part of these initiatives. And so, again, these are things that we support. They're not, our specific initiatives. So, we know that they're going to be happening. And there's a timeline for that to happen in development that the projects that are building these are working on. But it's not anything where we're looking at and say, well, let's make this happen or that happen. Our focus is how do we support it? And I think that's probably the future of where you're seeing things with, at a certain point with projects as they grow and develop, that it becomes to a point where it's how you go about things and who you are in doing it that make the difference in how the network grows. And I think that that's really kind of what we're focused on, showing up for the projects that are here and helping them grow and develop.
I see. Thank you so much for all the explanations, Mr. Billy. Chat, everybody, you've heard it. If you want to benefit from XDC Network with your project, head on to their community, head on to xdc.org, head on to xdc.dev, and also to the socials. It is still being shared in the chat periodically, so definitely give it a click and follow and enjoy. Study the project yourself, and if you have any questions, I believe you can either shoot them in the .dev website or any Discord or like Twitter, maybe even. I'm not sure. Mr. Billy can specify where to get directed mainly. But yeah, definitely click the link. Thank you in advance.
Yeah, I
Right.
would definitely go to xdc.dev if people want to be involved, for sure.
All right, guys, you've
It's
heard.
really the best place to go.
Okay, it's the best place to go. And it is really the best place to go because Mr. Billy has mentioned so many like impressive accomplishments even just in the year 2022. So, definitely, this is a project that is ready and functional and one that you can right now benefit from and actually, expand your own project as well. So, check it out. Hope you enjoy and thank you in advance. And let's switch to the next question. Security and anonymity are always prioritized by blockchain projects in the development of project platforms and technologies. So, do you have any technological solutions or plans to enhance user trust in these issues?
Yeah, it's a broad question. I think you're talking about a few different things when, one being security and one being anonymity is,
Mm-hmm.
very different. I think that, um, we are because of our focus with trade finance as specifically, we look at, what are the things that we're doing that are really kind of consistent with, you know, uh, s- integrating into the existing systems that are out there. Um, and, one of the things with trade finance, as an example is, you really, there's no anonymity in trade finance,
Exactly.
but there is definitely security, right?
Mm-hmm.
So KYC and AML are very important components of that. And these are types of things where if you're actually going to be operating with security tokens or in a regulated environment, um, these are things that, people are going to have to take part in. But the idea behind when you do take part in it is that uh, who you are as a individual is information is safe, and that's one of the reasons why we've incorporated or integrated global ID into what we're doing. And
Excellent.
so I think that there's opportunities for people to look at how they can participate and do that safely. As far as our network, we have an upgrade coming. I mentioned it earlier, XD POS 2.0. This is really the first of its kind, forensics based, um, network upgrade. And the really what it is about, we're running nodes on our network, master nodes that support and validate transactions, support the network, validate transactions, and these nodes interact with each other. They need to interact properly, and so we've put in or are putting in a forensics upgrade to this, so that at any point at the earliest time in monitoring, if something happens with a node where it starts to not operate properly, that node is really kind of like taken or separated, so to speak, from the transactions and validations that are happening, so that to not cause any kind of nefarious activity on the network and impact any security in the network. So it's a little bit of a kind of a judiciary in a way, kind of built
Mm-hmm.
into. But it's kind of like the idea of focusing on like a military grade security with Byzantine fault tolerance. So it can identify malignant nodes, with proof and slash them immediately so that they don't affect anything else that's going on. And then,
Exactly. Yeah.
those nodes can then be brought back online properly. And so, that's something that is, planned for Q1 of 2023, and has been in beta testing over the last year, and that's part of what the protocol team has been building. So like I said, there's aspects of this where we're looking at how do you increase security, and how do you bring people into an ecosystem where they can feel secure about their identity. But in order, I guess, if people want to be anonymous in what they do, then they have to kind of they'll be engaged with the different types of projects that are built where identification is not an issue. And so I guess is really, that's a decision on an individual basis as to where people want to operate.
Exactly. Thank you so much for the information. Yes, you've heard it, guys. With Global ID, it's really important, and security is also at the top level as well, military grade maybe even, and in the future, hopefully, possibly, government sites and government projects even can be involved. I'm not sure if any government projects are currently, and integrated, but yeah, it has quite a bit of potential, and it just needs to grow as a community, and this will help both decentralization, and with you guys' help, it will also benefit every single one of you guys. So if you guys are interested, the link is being shared right now. Click it and get directed to the $100, also the lottery giveaway as well. Definitely check that out. Thank you so much for the interaction. And if you are wondering about XDC even further, you can find them on many social media. For example, YouTube, we have it on the screen right now. If you have any entertainment purposes, just if you want to see it, just go ahead and watch the videos. For example, check out their Twitter, it's on the screen right now. They have Facebook, Reddit, whatever you can imagine, but the most important one is, I have it on the screen, it is xdc.org. And also, if you want to join the .dev website as well, go ahead and do it right now. It will benefit you. Thank you so much for everything right now, Mr. Billy. We're going to continue with our possibly the last question, but we'll see if the chat has any more in the meantime. But right now it's the last question of the AMA. One of the reasons why many governments have not legalized cryptocurrencies is that many criminals have been shown to use this infrastructure to move illicit money. Does XDC have any features to control this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, this is obviously, I think, one of the things that blockchain networks or blockchain in general get, maybe a bad rap on, and that, just in general, people think everything is so anonymous that things can't be traced. But actually, the truth is that things really can be traced, even more so than what you get in cash. And, we can't control all the people that come onto a network because, we're a decentralized network. People, from anywhere can log on, to any net, or, get onto any network and use any of the applications that are there. Or, go from, any connected, I guess, method of moving, the actual tokens or coins. But one of the things that we've actually been, and this is part of our focus on trade finance, has been integrating blockchain intelligence group, which is essentially a KYT, so know your transaction, service. And so essentially every transaction can be traced and tracked, through the blockchain intelligence group and interface. And one of the things that it really, we've incorporated this in because of our focus on what we're doing with trade finance. These are things that if you're going to have institutions on your network, if you're going to be, working within the existing financial structure. And a lot of what we're actually about is, as a blockchain network itself, when you're looking at enterprise and trade, is, the movement of, value from one place to another. Transactions are happening, somebody is, selling a good or service to someone else, and, money is being transacted upon. So, we want to make sure that from KYC, when somebody's coming into that environment, these are all regulated entities. So XDC Tech is actually the entity that was created by Trade Tech, which is regulated out of Liechtenstein, to be able to have onboarding and all of the information, prospectus and whatnot of, the offerings that they're having, from tokenization. And so there's a whole process that people have to go through to be involved in that with KYC and AML. And then all of the transactions that happen across the network, can be traced or tracked, with Blockchain Intelligence Group. And so, these are ways in which you can really kind of see the flows that happen. And I know, a lot of the things that, you have seen where some of the bad actors that, have been tracked down and caught, like I think the gas pipeline last year that, that was all through, through big, these, you have enforcement agencies that work with these know your transactions, and they're able to really get down to the detail of, where these things are emanating from. So, I think that's right now, the best that you can really do around blockchain, which is not just a matter of like KYC and AML, but, it's also know your transaction. And so that's been, I think that's something that we actually integrated in probably about over a year ago at this point. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the explanation and for the clear and definite answer. I really enjoyed it. And one last question from our socials, if you have the time, of course. With some projects recently expanding its community at universities, is the XDC team considering turning to universities as well? Are you looking for student representatives who will explain XDC network on campuses and introduce this technology? So kind of like an ambassador or like a contributor for students exclusively.
Yeah. Well, we've definitely been involved with different universities over time. Some of it are, somewhat blockchain association specific, or, maybe there's, we were involved with UC Berkeley at one point early on with developers, and some of the developers that came out of the project really, kind of came out of there. And we've done things with other universities as well, including some of the protocol team, and where they were through Princeton, some work that we had, or connections that we had done there, and those are things that I think are really important. We've talked to numerous other universities as well, from student level. As well as faculty level, about how to, bring education and kind of the ambassadorship, to students. And that's one of the things that I think will probably be with the decentralization piece, you'll start to see more of happening. Because I think, that's a lot of where, I think you're seeing a lot of the things, even with what's gone on in the industry over, the last year. One of the things that I think has been pretty consistent is the focus of a lot of university students really wanting to get into blockchain technology. And, a lot of these, efforts that are happening at universities are through students, at that kind of learning level.
Exactly.
And so it's a pretty exciting space to be in. I think that's going to continue to grow that way, even with the disruptions that we've had. I think people realize the future of blockchain is, as a technology is pretty vast, and there's a lot of opportunity to really develop in the space.
Exactly, and especially in the younger generations, it is like when with students and etc. It's really useful for both XDC and the students as well. They have a fresh blood and like clean minds. I really enjoy it. So definitely amazing news. Thank you so much for answering every single one of our questions. That was the end of our questions. If you have anything to add right now, Mr. Billy, feel free to add, or otherwise we can conclude and I will just introduce the websites after we've done with the meeting, and then I will conclude the stream as well. So yeah, if you have anything to add, feel free to add it right now. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks. This has been it's been a lot of fun. It's great to talk about these things, and really kind of the awareness of who we are and what we're doing,
Exactly.
and to broader audiences. So I really appreciate the time. I guess I would say that I think you'll, if you really look into the network, you'll get to see a lot more of what it is that we're really focused on doing, and how we're going about doing it. I think it's a pretty open and vibrant community for people to come into, and there's all sorts of different opportunities for people to participate, and that's growing more and more. So I think we're in, I don't know, the first inning or two, whatever you want to call it, of blockchain as it is. So I think that it's a great time for anybody to just kind of dip their toe in a little bit more into some of the things that we're doing, and
Exactly.
and see where you can play, I guess. So definitely check out xdc.dev. It's a great place to do it. It's really where the core of what we're starting to really